Hey guys, welcome back to Conversations in Ken's Cafe. We got a special today with a doctor, a chiropractor, and you're also into wellness and health and nutrition. You've been, helping share and teach people for over 30 years on how to better themselves. Dr. Paula, please introduce yourself for my audience so we get to know even more about what your background is.
Oh my gosh, Ken. Well, first of all, we tried to make this happen and you had a little mishap, which I
Pinched
will tell
nerve.
you, pinched
Yep.
nerve. And if you did, I did tag you because you inspired me. Your little mishap inspired me to do a video. And I'll explain that. We'll get into it. But
Okay.
but anyway, so I'm always looking for opportunities to educate, to help people. I've been in chiropractic practice over 26 years. And so when you say over 30, it actually made me think because I've actually been in the wellness space since I was in college, which was
Cool.
I think I entered college in 1984. I know I'm dating myself. And I probably by my sophomore year, I was doing internships in I went to University of Michigan and I worked in the obesity clinic, which was amazing because I got to do things like body composition testing and lung capacity testing. And I got to help people with nutrition and exercise. And then I worked at Domino's Farms Wellness Center, which is right here in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
It's the world headquarters. And they have a huge fitness facility. So I helped people. Again, I did weight loss programs. I did incentive programs. I did contests with the employees to help them just get more fit, feel better, get stronger. And it was really cool. So my whole life and my whole world has been in wellness since I was younger. But really, I started the path of the education piece back in the 80s. And I don't know that I want to do that math, Ken. I really don't.
I graduated it from high school in 85, just to give some similar dates,
Yes. So I graduated 84. So we're right there. Yeah, you're younger than me.
I'm just a baby, but I'm the one with the big deep gray, okay?
But do you see this? Do you see this? This is what having a great hairdresser does for you. Because
yes,
the gray it's real. It's a real thing.
We won't go there because my wife is actually 11 years older than I am. I got lucky. I married a beauty and she's held that beauty, but she hates to be on camera. So I can never get her on camera.
Oh my gosh. I know. I always tell people too, I'm like just get on camera, express yourself. It's hard because we don't like how we look on camera. We don't like how we sound on camera. And once you do it, you get used to it. You don't care because then like you and I, the message that we have to offer people trumps anything that we're feeling about ourselves or experiencing. And that becomes like back here in the distance, doesn't it?
Well, and when you have no ego and you don't really, you care, you want to look good, but you don't have to look like this supermodel, it just gets to the point where if you want to look down at me because of how I look, I don't even want to deal with you. Just go away. Next, people that want to learn.
Right. Well, I will say, and this is a little bit of a difference in men and women in that I still feel like there's occasion when I'll come on camera, let's say after a really hard yoga class and I look like I've worked out, like I have a glow. I kind of have a little sweat. My cheeks are pink. So I don't look ghostly without makeup. So, or if I'm working in the garden, I have some dirt on my face. And, I do like to have that level of reality and authenticity, but it's not like, so today, for example, I did my hair for the show. And I feel like this is where I'm a little jealous of men, because you can just like you pull your hair back and you go, okay, let's go live. You don't have to worry about makeup. I do want a little bit of something, a little lipstick, and it's annoying. I'm just gonna tell you that it's really annoying, because I don't. So years ago, I was working with not working. I was in a group, and
Mhm.
I won't even say what group or where, or what even the content of what it was, but it was a group, and the woman who ran the group, she would come on. She did a lot of lives. She was on live almost daily, but then she would do a lot of videos, and so it was kind of a coaching group, but it literally looked like she rolled out of bed every day. And it was a
Mm.
little, I have to say, it was kind of distracting, because you kind of thought, put yourself together a little bit. I'll
At
put a
least a
ponytail,
little.
just a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to come on like this, like, and looking like I'm ready to go to bed with a t-shirt that is like all saggy. So I think
Yeah.
there's like this fine line of, you know, we have to care about how we look in some capacity. We can't not care. And I
Yeah.
look back at my mom, my mom would never, even if she was going to the grocery store, she had lipstick. She was
Mhm.
not dressed to the nines, but she was, oh, look at that baby.
This is my Dylan.
Oh my gosh, so precious. I can't do that with mine. He's too big. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we think about like our parents and that generation, and
Yeah.
there was you didn't go, I mean, if that generation, to think about today going out in yoga pants and slippers, like that just didn't happen back then.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm here, I got a little bit of lipstick on, some light makeup, and I did my hair.
Well, and the wife just came down and says, "Yeah, you got the saggy T-shirt on," and it's like, I just got it out of the drawer. Okay, like, I mean, come on. But hey, there is a flip side to the ladies taking time to do their makeup. It's the guy sitting going, "Come on, honey, we're gonna be late."
But you appreciate what we look like when we leave the house, though, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 It is. There's a really unfair imbalance there. And the fact that men do expect us to be more
Mhm.
expedient when we're trying to,
Be
it's like
beautiful.
these gender gaps, right?
Well, the thing is, my wife doesn't generally wear makeup. Very rarely she puts some lipstick on. But she never has. But a lot of that has to do with what's in the makeup, because we understand what we put on our skin. It is the largest pore on our body that draws things in, whether it's from the putting something on it, from breathing, from walking through a city street with the smog. That's getting through our pores. And so she doesn't want to put a lot of stuff on, because there's not a lot of stuff that's really natural and healthy and not chemically based.
Oh, I'm totally with her on that. It's a constant message that I'm preaching, is that what
Mhm.
you put on your body is just as important as what you put in your body.
Yeah.
And even with, we could go into all the environmental things. One of the most common things, without even talking about what you put on your body, but um, Glade plugins, candles, like pretty
Yeah.
scents in your environment. They smell
Yeah.
amazing, but what they do to your brain, what's going in your body, and how it damages your brain. But then when we think about when we wake up in the morning, so the average woman puts on over 200 toxic chemicals on her body before
Mhm.
she even leaves the house. And that's in the form of, and I keep threatening to do this. So hold my feet to the fire on this. I have to create this.
Okay.
But even for men and women, let's think about this. So you're sleeping in your sheets. First of
Mhm.
all, what did you wash your sheets in? That's number
Mhm.
one. You wake up in the morning, you go into the restroom, into the bathroom, you brush your teeth. What's in that toothpaste? You wash your face. What's in your
Mhm.
face wash? for men, shaving cream. What's in that shaving cream? You get in the shower, your shampoo is toxic, your conditioner is toxic, probably your soap is toxic. Then you
I
get
want to
out.
point out one thing, Paula, that you're I don't know if you're really thinking about it. The water you're
Oh,
using
yes. Yeah.
is a major part of that too. But anyway, we're in the shower, so we got soap and shampoo. So all right.
Yes. Well, and I'll just say too, the chlorine and the fluorine, the fluoride that comes out, it goes into gases. So the hotter the shower, the
Mhm.
more gaseous those chemicals become. Those become toxic. Now, you know, I'll continue in a second on our morning,
Okay. Yep.
but we also have to consider how do we whittle it down? Because not
Mhm.
everybody's going to be able to get a whole house water filter. So a lot of how we reduce our toxic load in our environment and in our lives, it can be a little daunting. So you're educated on this. Like
Yep.
so probably the reason I forgot about the water is because I kind of feel like that's the last of anything that anybody could, be able to afford to do or
Mhm.
think about. But it's a good reminder. So thank you for that. Um, so then, okay, so we get out of the shower, we put lotion on our body, or at least I do. That was
Mhm.
a thing my mom did since I was a kid. I watched her put lotion on her body every time she got out of the shower, and it's what I did. So I don't know if everybody does that, but my daughter does the exact same thing. She gets out of the
Mhm.
shower, she puts lotion on. That's what I did. She watched me do that. She watched my grandmother do that. Um,
Mhm.
but and then makeup. So, and
Mhm.
then let's say, okay, so you do your hair, you put whatever products in your hair, and then maybe some hairspray, and then maybe there's perfume. And I'm talking about, I don't wear perfume, but I'm talking about like
Yeah.
general women, and then lipstick. I mean, and so when you think about all the things there's hundreds of chemicals in all of those products that we've used.
Oh yeah.
And those chemicals, so there's a grouping, a name for all of those chemicals, and they're called phthalates. And it's PTH, PTH, ALA. It's Friday
I'm
night.
glad you're trying because I'd never have a clue.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a stressful weekend. So PTHALAT. Okay, so phthalates. Almost
Okay.
sounds like a Bugs Bunny thing. I don't even know. Uh, and so the phthalates are actually toxic to our brain and our nervous system.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm looking right now. Cake in a Cup says, I like how women stop dyeing their hair when they get pregnant, thinking they're saving their baby from the poison, but they've been building up for eons. So it does get stored. And
Mhm.
also there's been over 200 toxic chemicals tested in cord blood. So this stuff it's pervasive. It
And then
lasts
this
inside
as
of us.
well.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then you go outside, activate chemicals in different ways in the sun,
Yep.
which of course we could talk about sunscreen. We can get to that, to those things. Deodorant for sure. Funny story about deodorant. And then I want to talk about hair dye for a second.
Okay.
Funny story about deodorant. My daughter, there was a brand new deodorant. We only use natural deodorant in this house. And there was a
Mhm.
brand new deodorant in the drawer in our main bathroom. And I was like, oh, where'd this come from? Oh, this is interesting. This is here. So I'm like, well, I'll start using it. Now I
Mhm.
always use a different natural deodorant, but I started using it. I'm like, oh, it smells pretty. It's essential oils, and it was working. So I wasn't stinky by the end of the day. I'm Middle
Always
Eastern, so I
nice. Yeah.
sweat a
Yeah.
lot. I sweat a lot. And after about 5 days of using it,
Mhm.
I started getting clogged
Pores.
ducts, clogged uh, lymph nodes.
Mhm.
Painful, really painful. And I was like,
Okay.
"Oh my god, this is wow." It was because of this natural
Yeah.
deodorant. I threw it away. In fact, I think I have to go back and look at the ingredients in it because I'm like, "How can you call yourself natural?" And then it clogged my lymph nodes. Like that was
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
crazy. So we have to also listen to our bodies when we're doing this. Is just because it
Mhm.
says natural, I still get duped. I've been doing this my whole life, living
Just
my
like when it says organic on the package and
Mhm.
has nothing to do with organic at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you've had a, part of your mission that brought you here was because of toxic load, right?
Well, toxic load and muscle body problems, but I've always had the understanding because I grew up in the organic. My mom, we dealt with different problems. My dad almost passed on very early, and it was caused by acids in his stomach being too much. And so she went natural on treating him. So we went down that road really, really deep. We were, probably once a month at a minimum, we were at the health food store doing different things. And believe me, in my house, if you went to the dining room table and you looked and you didn't recognize it, you're going, uh-oh, is it going to taste good? Is it going to taste bad? Because we never knew. My mom was always trying new things, like, doing her own yogurt at home, growing sprouts. And I don't know if you've ever had
God bless
alfalfa
her.
sprout sandwiches. I used to,
Yes.
I ate
Yes.
that as a kid all the time.
Me too. My mom was amazing like that. Yes.
Yeah. So I never really had the toxic load until I moved out from home and started eating things outside, because I do have an allergic reaction to the preservatives. That's where we never really had store-bought stuff at home. It was
Same.
all grown organically. We bought local meat. My dad went hunting. So I never had those because when I was young, they did a test and I was allergic and had really bad reactions. So I didn't have to deal with that toxic load until I was up in my 20s.
Yeah, and I think that's where when you were on my show, we talked about that because you had a similar experience with your allergies and your
Mhm.
health
Yeah.
that my brother did with my mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's it's super cool. I just think it's a great connection, because my brother, going
Mhm.
back to this was back in the 70s. I was probably, 7, 8 years old, and he was diagnosed as hyperactive.
Mhm.
And my mom, then the doctor was like, "Oh, he needs medication," and we had Ritalin back then. And so he said, the doctor said, put him on Ritalin. And my mom gave him 1 dose of Ritalin one day, said it turned him into a zombie.
Yeah.
I actually did a TED talk on this in 2022. So you guys can go find that and look up TED Talk, TEDx
TEDx.
Detroit. Yep.
Yep.
2022, Dr. Paula Ruffin. And it was really fun to share that story. And what was really cool was that my mom, so she said that putting him on Ritalin turned him into a zombie. And she was like,
Mhm.
there's got to be something better for my kid here. So she ends up somehow finding, and I wonder if it's a similar, if it was the same doctor that your parents found, since we're in the same age bracket, because um it's called the Feingold diet, Dr. Feingold, back in the 70s. And
Mm.
Dr. Feingold, so now somehow my mother finds this diet,
Yeah.
and she says, okay, well, I can't put my kid on this medication because it turned him into a zombie, and I should do something better for my kid. So she ends up finding Dr. Feingold's diet, and the bottom line of his diet is no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or colors.
Mhm.
And I preach that to this day. If you just remove artificial sweeteners, flavors, and colors and limit your sugar, but if we could just do that, you would probably eliminate 80% of the ultra processed foods in your diet. And so she can
You saw the tail?
Is that your tail? Is that your tail, Ken?
Oh, yeah, and it's orange and fuzzy-tailed.
Oh my god, look at that. That's so cute. Oh, I love it. Oh, I wish I could pick my boy up. He's too big. Um, that's great. So, and thank you, Silly Lily. She says she's already watched my TED Talk. So thank you. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, so it's really cool. I think about, my mom was like a crusader to be able
Mhm.
and I think your mom was too, because to try to find this information back when we were young was like, I don't know. I wish my mom were live today for me to ask her, how did she find the Feingold diet? How did she do that? And
Yeah.
this Dr. Feingold, he figured out that these additives in our diet are ramping up our nervous system, they're toxic to our brains, and that if we just eliminate them, everything's great. And that's what she did.
Mhm.
She took out all that stuff, and she taught us how to read food labels at a young age, and was like, does that sound like something we should eat? Does it sound like food? No. Okay,
Yeah,
what do we
can
do?
you pronounce it?
Yeah, put it back. Yeah. So I think, yeah, so I wonder if your mom still alive?
Yes, she is.
Oh, I would be curious. You need to ask her about that. Like how she figured out, you know,
Yeah,
how to.
I don't know. I know we got into Shaklee
Yeah,
nutrition
okay. Yeah.
back in the day. They actually won a trip to the Bahamas,
Mm,
right, through Shaklee and like
okay.
the Cadillac, and they were right into it. But it was before that I believe that my dad got sick. So I'm not sure where she really I think she was just always a little bit on that side of things where she wanted to be more natural. Um, so yeah, it's when you need it, the person will show up that's going to tell you about it. I found that in my own life when I needed the master to show up so I could be the disciple, the master always showed up.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's amazing how that works, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, I think I lost you. Hold on one second. Yeah, there you are. Okay. Um, where'd you go? Hold on. I moved
Oh
my
yeah.
browser so I could. Okay, hold on. There we go. Okay.
I know
I was-
you paused for a couple of seconds in your
Okay.
audio, but then you caught back up. So
Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, I was trying to just pull it up on my page so I could share this across, even though I'm streaming it. So, um, anyway, sorry, I
yeah,
digress.
you can present something if you want and bring up some information. That's perfectly fine.
I'll think about that as we go through our conversation. Yeah. So let's see. We are live now. Let's do that so I can share that across. Um, yeah, I think, when you think about our parents these days, and like I have a patient who is, so you made a comment. You said you weren't exposed to the toxins until after
Mhm.
you left home.
Yeah.
And actually, as much as we'd like to think that, that's actually not a true statement, because all the toxins that still exist in our world, we are being exposed to regardless of how clean we think we're being, the
Mhm.
choices we're making. Even if it's, oh gosh, milk. Like I do make my own yogurt,
Mhm.
so I buy organic milk. I'm actually trying to find I just recently found a raw milk source, so I'll be doing that. But I buy
Good.
a really high quality organic milk, but milk goes through plastic tubing. So there's microplastics in everything. We now
Mhm.
have studies showing microplastics in human testicles, and it's frightening. We have microplastics in cord blood. We have glyphosate, which is Roundup, in cord blood.
Mhm.
I have a patient who's I treat her and her two young kids, and we tested her 4-year-old, and he's glyphosate toxic. And
Mhm.
she said, "We never use that stuff. We live on property. We grow our own chickens. We don't use any chemicals." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a testament to the fact that these chemicals are pervasive, and they're called forever chemicals for a reason." So her
Mhm.
dad probably used them when she was growing up, and they're stuck in her body. And
Yeah.
she has some health issues, that she's grown up with. So some of these things are, they're just stuck in us. And so we have to make all the choices we can, and then just know that there's going to be a small percentage. So we're not going to be able to do anything about.
Well, it's like Silly Lily says, think of all the toxins in a brand new
Mhm.
home between
Mhm.
carpet, etc., brand new car. It surrounds us. Um, the biggest thing, and I know that there's biology that actually breaks down glyphosate in the soil and does it really, really quickly, but we don't have that biology in our bodies anymore, or not enough of it, because the biology is in the soil, it's in the plants. We're supposed to be getting it from that, and we're not.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things that I'm passionate about, because I actually take worm castings that I make myself, right? Some from my own worm farm, and then I know I'm getting that much excess biology and biology my body is missing, so that I can deal with stuff like that.
Yeah, it's and not everybody's going to know to do that
Or
or
have
do that.
access to
Yeah, or
yeah.
do that. So, this is where hey, that's enough.
That's your boy. He
That's
wants to be on your lap,
He's like,
Paula.
come on. He totally does. My daughter, he just is so attached to my daughter. And when she
Mhm.
leaves, he's like, when's she coming back? So, yeah.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think too, some of when we have these conversations, it's really easy for people like you and me who've been entrenched in this for so many years
Yeah.
to talk about things like taking worm castings and bentonite clay and doing chelation and things like that. But I think that most of the Happy Mac, how are you, my friend? Good to see you here. Uh, I think the mission has to become also that how do we cast this net at a higher level? Like, how do we get people just to understand the whole environment? Yes. Oh goodness. Are we
Yeah.
going in the rabbit hole? Are we going in the rabbit hole today? Is that what we're doing?
The people on my channel understand, because of how we deal with the environmental issues in growing crops, etc., the herbicides, pesticides. We know about the pharmaceutical companies. We understand that rabbit hole that we've been going down, because we want to go down to understand it so we can fight against it. And I think that's if you want to go there,
Oh,
I would
sure.
never say no to the truth coming out about just how the system is harming us. Not that a
Oh,
specific person in a company is doing it, it's the whole system, whether
it's a
it's
big corporation.
governmental,
Yeah.
corporate, it's all working together against humans.
Well, okay, so I'll share this story.
Mhm.
So, and then I'll go into something that is I'm just pulling this up here on another page, which is very current in what is happening in our legislation and in our world right now. But so I this is a story that really I've always been, because of the way my mom raised me, I've always been conscious of toxic elements and food
Mhm.
ingredients and things like that. Like I said, she taught me to read labels when I was 7 years old. So
Yep.
this is how I was raised. But then when I was about 8, 10 weeks pregnant, and I remember I for like 3 days, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I kept hearing this, and it was an airplane. And I'm like, what is going on? And it wasn't moving past. It was this constant humming of an airplane
Mhm.
above where I was at. And I was like, I'm like, when is it going to move out? Now, I'm a sleep um baby. Like I'm like, don't mess with my sleep. to begin with.
Okay.
But now I'm pregnant. Okay, now I'm pregnant. So now we have pregnancy hormones. And so so finally I call the township and I said, I go, what? I go, what's going on? I said, there's an airplane that's been flying overhead the last 3 days at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it keeps waking me up. I said, what is there flying lessons going on? What's going on? And the woman says, oh, we're spraying for gypsy moths. And I go, well, I said, well, where was the documentation or the announcement that you are poisoning the air of me and my unborn child? And she said,
Mhm.
well, it was announced on the news, I think. And I go, well, I don't watch the news. And I said, I'm a homeowner and a taxpayer. There should have been a letter in my mailbox or like something. I
Yeah.
have the right to know if you're poisoning my air. And she was like, well, you need to contact Michigan State University. She says, here's this woman's name. And she gives me this phone number. And so I call the phone number. And oddly enough, the woman whose name and number she gave me, the woman was out of the office for the next 6 months. I'm like, oh,
She's on pregnancy leave.
okay, yeah, exactly. Like some of us have to work when we're pregnant. Okay. But that really was the first uh enlightenment, I guess, if you
Mhm.
will, of the fact that they can do anything they want to us, to our environment at any time and not have to tell us. And
Yeah.
those were like the I don't know if I'll call them silent crimes against humanity, but those were the like, it's like chemtrails and all of those things. Okay, we can do these things, and then we can call you tinfoil hat wearing people because
Yeah.
that's not really what's happening. Well, no, we kind of know that that's what's happening, and then um, and yeah, infuriating Happy Mac, and so that was my first like, what is happening in the world, and then I started to really look at what are they putting in our food. Like it became more than reading a label and then taking this label and saying, okay, well, I don't want this product, so I'm going to put it away. And so I won't
Mhm.
poison myself because I won't eat this product. But now it doesn't matter. You can
Yep.
make the best possible choices ever. And this crap is in our environment. It's in our bodies, whether we want it or not. Like
Mhm.
there's a really great, sad documentary on the Wolverine Shoe Company here in Michigan, and
Okay.
they're over on the west side of Michigan, and they poisoned the water. Basically, they
Mhm.
poisoned the waterways because they were tanning leather making
Yeah.
shoes, and they would throw the scraps of leather out onto they basically would dump the chemicals into the Huron River, and they would throw the
Mhm.
scraps of leather out, basically I'm told today, I haven't been there, but this documentary says, and then I've looked up other sources, if you go and you walk the Huron River over on the west side of the state at this area, that you'll see scraps of leather still there, and it's these chemicals are leaching, and these people in this town
Mhm.
dying of cancer at young ages, kids dying of cancer, and there are still lawsuits going on because these companies are allowed to get away with it.
Yeah.
And it's frightening. I mean, where's our rights, right?
Well, the thing is, most people don't understand their sovereign rights are different than their country's rights. If you go into really in depth and look at the global organization of covenants, of rights, of freedoms, these countries, my country, your country, because I live in Canada, you're
Mhm,
living in the US,
mhm.
they've signed on to contracted, covenants that they will, like the Geneva Convention. There are ways for us to stand up against these people, but it is hidden from 99.9% of the people out there that they have options but you can never go into courtroom with a lawyer, because if you hire a lawyer, you've given your sovereign right for your defense to the lawyer, and your lawyer is actually able to make decisions without your consent because you've given away your sovereign rights. But these countries, these people that own these companies, have corrupted the governments globally, and they've created this system where they make us sick so they can make money from us. And the problem is, and I don't know if they actually realize this, the more biology that they're killing off with these chemicals, yeah, it's making us sick, but it will get to a point where we won't be able to continue as a species on this planet. When they take the biology back too much, it's just going to collapse, and then we're all gone.
Yeah, it's pretty frightening. So here in the US, and I just pulled this up here so I could give you the dates on this. But so we have Monsanto, which
Bayer
produces
owns
Roundup.
now.
Yep. Yeah. So Bayer acquired Monsanto. Well, when we look at these two companies, Bayer also produces a large amount of cancer chemicals, or cancer
Drugs.
they are chemicals, right? Cancer drugs. So how bizarre is that? That Bayer, I mean, not bizarre, but Bayer and Monsanto are now in bed. So you've got the largest producer of chemotherapy drugs in the world buying the largest producer of toxic Roundup in the world. And so they're like, well, hey, if we're going to kill people, we might as well capitalize on it.
Well,
I mean,
it's a
I'm
closed loop. It's a closed loop.
Yes.
It's like any business.
Right.
Okay, if I need wood, then, well, I want to have a lumber yard, and then, the next step to a lumber yard is the guy that goes out and actually cuts the tree down. If you have it all, you're making money at each point. What's better than that?
Yeah. I mean, crazy. Yeah. Let's kill people, but then provide the anti-killing drugs. Like, that's really what it's about.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm still kind of, I'm still relatively blown away by the corruption, because, here we are, we're trying to, we're the little people trying to have a voice, trying to have channels like this, trying to really be this grassroots movement to help people take responsibility for themselves. Because if we buy into, I don't know how many times this week I've told patients, do not become a part of the system. Like, that's the bottom line. Just don't. And so whether you're, making sure that you're eating healthy, or your movement, if you don't move properly and you lose mobility, you end up in a nursing home or rehab or something like that. You're in the system. If your health is in despair and you end up in the hospital or on dialysis, or, if you end up in the hospital with any sort of metabolic disorder, they're going to pump you full of drugs, which is going to cause a whole nother slew of events. So and you're absolutely right, Pedro. This system, it's so rigged.
It's rigged. Yep.
It is rigged. And so I appreciate channels like yours to make sure that, let's have these open conversations. I mean, it could be an echo chamber, but at some point, who comes into these streams that's really like on the fence, that if we can bring reasonable information to people and allow people to go, oh, that actually makes sense. I mean, here in the US, Ken, and you're probably aware of this, we are having an absolutely historic pre-time, I'll just say pre-time, our election. This is an historic election. We have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's, his dad, his uncle. I mean, he comes from a long line of Kennedys. They're political royalty in the United States. historically Democrats, and RFK Jr. has just endorsed Donald Trump because our Democratic political party has become the complete opposite of what RFK has grown up to what he grew to know. And RFK has always been this advocate for human rights, for vaccine choice, for health, and people want to I want to say the Democrats, you guys can probably glean some of my political party on this, but if you are making fun of somebody who's trying to make people healthier, there's something wrong with you. Like that is, you're throwing shade and shooting arrows at somebody. They make fun of him because he wants to do pull-ups or whatever. Like, he's in great shape. He hunts, he hunts big game. And the Democrats will now, like, they're now trying to, like, oh, he shot a whale. I don't know if he shot a whale. I don't know what that story is, but there's some like weird story about that, but so we have this historic, impending election coming up. I mean, can you imagine that? Like, years of Democratic support, and now you have a candidate who's not a candidate. He's he's now, like, he was a candidate and then he stepped down. So he ended up this is like more corruption. So the Democratic Party, who he grew up to be a part of, the Democratic Party sued him to get him off the ballots. Then they were like, oh, whoa, because if they figured out that if people didn't vote for him, their votes were going to go for Donald Trump, our Republican candidate. So then they were like, oh, wait. And then he was like, okay, great, take me off of the ballots. And then like, no, we're not doing that. So he was trying to get his name off the ballots because he was stepping down and he wanted to endorse Donald Trump. And then they sued him to keep his name on the ballots. It's like, because they now want to divide his vote. And he's going around.
They're trying to divide the country. So, and that's the thing, Paula. And we don't want to stay too much on politics. But I actually am following what's happening in the U.S. quite in depth, because I think that's going to change the globe. But it's that shift of, oh, if we can't beat them this way, we'll beat them that way. And it's the same whether it's the medical, whether it's the government, whether it's the farming. It's all, they're playing both sides, and whoever's got the most money wins. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. But you said it's us standing up for ourselves, getting together. I wanted to point something out that I told my wife several years ago when a lot of this stuff started happening. I said, honey, observe, don't absorb. See what's going on, realize what's going on, but don't take it to heart. It's not going to be able to be affected by you. So why should it affect you, other than do what you can do for those around you? Like, that's why I talk about caring, sharing, and community. It's your community that's going to hold you up. You look at Florida, you look at North Carolina, South Carolina, the devastation that has happened down there right now. The government isn't helping. It is us. It is us reaching out and helping each other that's going to get us through. So keep your energy, positivity strong, because that's the only thing that's going to fight the darkness. Is we're the light, and we need to keep bringing that light.
Oh, amen, brother. Amen to that. And, I remember you saying that, and thank you for that reminder. Observe, not absorb. And, I would get made fun of for many, many years by my family, because I'm like, I don't watch the news. I don't pay attention to politics. I like my rose-colored glass world,
Have you ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
I haven't. Do I need to?
No. It's just that there's a set of glasses that when there's danger coming, they put the glasses on, and as the danger gets closer and closer, they just get blacker and blacker and blacker till you just can't see, and you don't have to worry about it.
I love it. That's I might have to see that or read it. Book, movie, what is it?
Book.
Okay,
Actually, I think they did maybe make a movie on it. We're going way back in the 70s, I think, when it was written. Oh,
yeah.
but Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Okay, I love it. Yeah, all right. I'll put that on my reading list. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's, it is good to remember, and I do have this kind of, I live this like push-pull in my life these days because so for many, many years, I didn't pay attention because to your point, I was like, if a boat, ship, whatever, capsizes in the Red Sea, I don't know, I'm just making shit up. You know, like, what can I do about it? I can have a little bit of empathy, but if I sit, it was kind of like, I know we were, like we think about 9/11, and so those of us, and that was, people around the world felt that, and for days, maybe weeks, I don't remember, but we'll never get the image. We'll never forget where we were that day. We'll never get the image. What's that?
PTSD.
PTSD.
They say it's only when a specific thing, but the vaccine, what happened in that bullshit, that's a PTSD as well. So should we all be applying for government subsidy to get PTSD?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to throw that in.
I mean, it's all the things. It's like, how do we, so I find myself struggling more, right? Because you're like, okay, observe, don't absorb. And it's it's just a great reminder. And I don't even want to say that it's difficult to not do that because then I'm like buying into the not doing that. But in probably the last 5 years, it's been, my eyes have opened. I've paid attention more. I've watched more news. I've become more politically conscious. I've cared more politically because now I understand. It feels to me like the consequences of not paying attention are so much bigger.
Yeah.
And so that world of it doesn't matter, I can keep myself in my bubble. That all changed when the government said, and you guys in Canada really felt this, the government was like, you have no rights and we're going to pierce your bubble and we're going to stop your bank accounts and we're going to take your rights away. And they did that to us here, but you guys really got the brunt of that. So so that was the wake up call where it was like, we can't just live with our little rose colored glasses anymore because this becomes now, it's a crusade. It is a crusade. And we have to speak so loudly on taking control of yourself and your health, advocating for yourself, for your family. We still can't do anything. If the government tomorrow decides to mandate some ridiculous vaccine again, I don't know. I mean, we like, again, it's the government trying to bring crimes against humanity down on us. What are we going to do? We still have to try to control our little bubble, but it really does still bring me anxiety. So it's a whole new world that I've had to navigate in the last few years. And it's hard from a mental health perspective, I mean, how do you do it? You're in Canada, you're dealing with that.
Well, and considering I was a truck driver and I would have been there if I hadn't got injured 15 years ago, I would have been there and dealing with that. So it's just the simple understanding of who can affect you and who can you affect. If Dr. Paula can only affect herself, then nothing and nobody around her can affect her. unless she allows it. And it's the same with Dr. Paula reaching out and smacking somebody alongside the head because, they just hit a child. That's
Yeah.
you affecting them physically, but that's only physically. You're the one that made the choice to reach out and smack that person. It's one of the reasons I basically have no ego, because I don't care what other people think about me. I don't care what they say about me, because I'm secure in who I am. And if you come at me, I will react, but it's only my reaction that I'm responsible for. I'm not responsible for somebody going out and blowing up a car, and it unless I'm there and it physically affects me, then it's just how I handle it emotionally, and understanding that I can, if it's harmed somebody, I can send them my energy in a positive way. Other than that, I can't allow that to affect me, because that brings my energy down. And the more we bring our energy up, the less these things are going to happen in the future. We're going on our planet through a very interesting time. The energy is shifting, but everybody knows that if you corner a beast, it's going to fight and claw and try to survive. That's what's happening. That's what we're witnessing on our planet right now. The group that has been controlling our planet, not just Canada, not just the US, but the globe as a whole, is falling. Their things are crumbling. When that is over, people like you and I that have kept that light and helping people, that's just bringing everybody up. And those rats that can't handle the light are going to be gone, and we're entering a whole new energetic era, where if you understand energy and how to use it, you're going to be able to reach out to that energy, draw it into yourself, and be able to use it to help others. That is my goal for everybody on this planet, to be able to reach that point of understanding where I can reach out and I can draw energy from this tree, and I can take that energy into myself. Then I can take it over to this rose plant, and I can put it and give it to this rose. And that beauty is going to give me positive energy back. And it's a circulating planet of energy, of beauty, of hope. And that's where we need to focus.
That is so. Let me address that. I would love to think that I don't care what other people think. I would love to feel that. Uh,
It's
here's
a
my
fight.
here's yeah, and here's my perspective on that. Because as much as I would like to be a little unfiltered, and I can pick and choose. I have a pretty good read on my patients. Patients know
Mhm.
that I will be very real with them. I will be very um there's many of my patients that I will take I guess a parental
A
I guess
hard
kind of
line?
yeah, kind of a parental stand,
Yeah.
like, I'll literally say to you, "You're lying to yourself, and let's stop that because there's something better for you." So there's a way, like there's an approach
Mhm.
and a way. Um, so there's things like that where it's like, okay, I guess on one side, I don't care if you think that I'm being stern and parental because I'm doing it out of love and I
Mhm.
know there's something better for you.
Yeah.
However, some of the things I'm sharing on this podcast, I'm not gonna share in my everyday life in my
Oh,
practice because
no.
it can affect my business, right? So I think
Yeah.
there's definitely things, there's times when we share things and there's times when we don't. And I do agree with you. I think like ego, um, a friend of mine called me today and he said somebody called him um oh, I'll just say because you won't know who he is. So I'll just say this. his wife called him, it was his wife, called him narcissistic and self-absorbed. And I said, wait a minute, you are the least of any of that. Like, I was like, what did you do to piss her off? Because I can't even imagine. Right. So I think a lot of that becomes perspective. And then of course, when we talk about self-absorption and ego, I told him, I said, I think it's okay to be like, we have to be self-absorbed to
Mhm.
figure out like these labels that we put on us. And then it's like, are you accepting of that? Like, yeah, I'm self-absorbed a lot because if I don't go inward, if I
Mhm.
don't, you, try to, if I don't tune out and I
Yeah.
don't come inward and I don't try to make sure that I'm built the best that I possibly can,
Mhm.
I can't give what I don't have. So I'm self-absorbed. I think we all are. And I think if you aren't self-absorbed, I would encourage you to be more. And and if you're like, I'm never self-absorbed, then guess what? You're lying to yourself. Like it's
Oh, big time.
and that's the energy you're talking about, right? It's like, no, like what's the energy you need to have to be the person to inspire to be your best self, but then also to inspire others, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and, people, it's self-absorbed. Is it self-absorbed to gather knowledge, to spend the time and the effort to gather knowledge? That is self-absorbed. You're self-absorbed in that education, and if your husband or your wife is going, "But honey, I wanna go out for beer," or, "I wanna go to the grocery store, I wanna do this, I wanna do this," and you're focused, are they interfering with you and not allowing you to be better for everybody? It's all perspective, and that's everything. It's perspective. It's like, okay, food, food choices, okay? I'm sorry, I don't care if you think monkey brains are a delicacy. I'm not eating them.
Oh,
I'm
same.
sorry. I just frog legs. I don't
I'm
care
out.
if they got chocolate, okay? I don't care. Okay? But in perspective, a person that's growing up with that, and whether that's religion or somebody that's growing up in on, let's say, the wrong side of the tracks, and they're used to crime, they're used to guns firing all around them, etc. It doesn't make it right, but that's what you're used to. So you don't even bother to think about it. That's what they're doing to us everywhere. They're separating, whites, blacks, yellows, reds, browns, but we're all human. There
Yeah.
is nothing different other than a freaking skin color. What the heck is that?
Well, and
That's
then
a
we're talking
genetic
about it.
manipulation.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and that but then it's inclusion, right? We're like,
Yeah.
we're calling it inclusion, but it's really exclusion. And
Yeah.
I so in talking to well, let me go to energy first, because you were
Okay.
talking about energy. And
Yep.
then I'm going to talk about this whole exclusion piece and the separation of us as human within humanity. It's the separation in an effort to have inclusion. Like it makes no
I
sense to me. You know, I'm like, I don't even understand it. And so let's put a pin in that. But I want to go back
okay.
to the energy piece, because
Yeah.
you were talking about energy and how we okay, the rose, I don't know if you said rose bush or whatever it is,
Yep.
but I think that you know, if we go to the self-absorption piece, it's like, okay, what do you need for yourself to fuel yourself? To make sure that you have enough inside of you. What's
Mhm.
the energy you need inside of you so that you can then give to your family, your clients, the world, your kids,
Yeah.
you're back to yourself. Like it if we end up, and I think that, and maybe you might be able to chime in on this, but because I work with a lot of women, I feel like as women we end up depleting our tanks more than
Mhm.
anything. Like, I can't tell you how many women come to me and they're like, I really need the help. But the dog needs this, and my kids need this, and my husband said no, and this and that, and I feel like shit, and I don't know what to do. But we have the money to go on a $10,000 trip, but my husband won't let me spend the money, $2,000 on care for myself to feel better. Like this, these are like women get we just get the bottom of the freaking barrel. And I'll say we, but not me, accept it. So many women accept that they get the bottom of the barrel. And so and yet women are the caretakers. They're the keepers of the family. And this is I'm not like bashing men by any means.
Mhm.
Men have their role too, but this is just coming from the place of like the women that I work with who I know are the family, they keep the family together. They're the ones
Yeah.
that are the drivers of the family, and they are putting themselves last. And what is that energy? You know, you cannot give what you don't have. And so this is really the sad part for me is, they're suffering from guilt.
Mhm.
Guilt. Oh, if I spend money on me, I can't have that. It's shame. They're at the bottom of the consciousness scale. Like when we talk about energy and what we can give, and I try to get my patients to just do what you said. Just go out and take a walk. Take 10
Mhm.
minutes for yourself. Literally go out and smell the roses. Go out. I started growing for the first time this year, which I've always wanted to do, dahlias.
Okay.
I've never grown them before. It was a complete experiment. I have a friend of mine that raises them. He's got hundreds of them. And I went to his house and he gave me 50 different plants that he had, bulbs, and he grew them and whatever. And I planted them here and I planted them at my house. And just today, I realized it took them so long to get going.
Mhm.
And I was out there today and I picked a couple, and I picked a whole bunch from the office before, because I'm not in the office on the weekend. So I wanted to pick a bunch and bring them here. But
Yeah.
like Monday, I went out Monday morning at the office and I picked a bunch and I came in and I put them up on the, they're on the counter. When people come and they check in, they're
Mhm.
like, the flowers are beautiful. And then I'm like, I know. And then I was home today and I picked a couple and I brought them and said, like there are
Yeah.
dahlias everywhere in my house. I'm walking around. So the joy, it's those things. Like,
Yeah.
do those little things, like the energy that I'm getting off of this
Mhm.
gorgeous plant
Yeah.
is like, and it's simple things. We can all do stuff like that, right?
Well, and we can, but it's realizing that there's a difference between giving, and then giving with a reason, with a purpose. I give to that flower, that dahlia, because I love what I get back, and it's that joy and connection. You were saying that women have the role there. you know I know women that they will not eat so that they can have food for their children and their husband, etc. And is that right? Is that wrong? That's only for themselves to decide. It's like someone was saying, the country is, really racist in certain areas, etc. No, the country isn't. The person. It's all you. You make the choice to be racist. You make the choice not to like your neighbor because he drinks the wrong beer. So you're being racist because he doesn't drink the beer you like. Okay. But you make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't make that choice for you. Nobody else does. Only you can decide to get in the car after you've had 20 beer and go, "Yeah, I'm fine to drive. Yeah." No, that's your choice. You
Yeah.
made the choice to drink in the first place. So it's every day, every way. It's your choice. Don't blame anybody else or what's happening in your life, because you're the only one in control of it. I don't care if you think the government controls you, or your mom controls you, or your dad, or your husband, or anybody else. You have a choice. If you have a choice, if somebody's about to shoot your child, to step in front of your child and take that bullet, that's a choice. Okay, you can do that for your child or any other child, and I would recommend to anybody that is in that situation to step up and take the bullet for that child. Their life is the future of this planet.
That's okay. Okay, great. Love that. Love that.
Sorry, I
Funny-
ranted.
That's
Sorry.
great. But I'm gonna tell you a funny story about that.
Okay.
Not that I had the opportunity to take a bullet. But last week, my daughter, she'll be 20 next month, and
Mhm.
she was driving up to Michigan State, which is about an hour away.
Okay.
And she calls me, and it's like, I don't know, it's like 7 o'clock at night. And she goes, "Hey, what are the," this is how my daughter talks, you know. And so she says, "What are the odds that I can take your car?" I thought she had already gone. I don't know where she
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
I was like, she goes, "What are the odds that I can take your truck to state?" And I go, "What are you talking about? I thought you were already there." She goes, "No, I'm still in Commerce, which is where we live."
Mhm.
And she says, she goes, "Something's wrong. My tire went low again," or something like that. She
Mhm.
keeps having these issues with her tire. And what she does is she keeps just going and filling the tire instead of going and fixing the tire, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So she says, "Well, my tire went low again, and I don't know what's going on, and blah, 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 blah." And I go, "I am going to yoga in the morning. I'm meeting friends for brunch. It's 30-minute drive for me to, whatever. It's not like it was around the corner for me to if I traded cars with her." And she
Mhm.
goes, "Oh, so you want me to just like have a blowout on the freeway and crash?" And I go, "If you think your car's that bad, maybe you shouldn't go up there. Because then if I trade cars with you, guess who's gonna crash?" Like
Yeah, exactly.
like so I kinda like, and then she calls me like 20 minutes later. She's like, "My car's fine. I'm good." I'm like, "Okay, great." But anyway, yeah. I chose not to take a bullet for her last weekend.
Or a blowout at least, you know.
Like, I'm like, "Oh, come on. Like, what?"
How how silly is
Anyway,
she for not understanding that she should go get the tire looked at
perhaps, I
instead?
know.
You know,
But
she'd go to
also,
a doctor if she had a cold.
yeah. And also, just so we know, I would take a bullet for my child. So there's but all right. So I want to go back to energy for a minute because
Okay,
I was pulling
sorry.
up. I know, no, it's fine. We're going all over. I pulled up David Hawkins. So there's a book
Mm,
called Power
yep.
versus Force. Are you familiar with that? I'm assuming you are.
Um, I'm not sure if I've heard of David Hawkins, but I've also
Hawkins, David
Hawkins.
Hawkins. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I'm
should
one.
you should read this book. I read it years ago.
Mhm.
It's very chewy. I mean, you got to be able to really focus. But his whole premise, and I'm sure you're aware of this. So when you talk about energy, there's a scale of energy and
Mhm.
vibration.
Yep.
Um, so when you are vibrating at like the highest, so what's the highest? The highest is enlightenment, peace, and joy and love.
Mhm.
So when we can resonate and experience and live in those moments, that is the energy that attracts more of those things. So when we talk about our current world is anger, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of anger, fear, and that's at the very low, that's like down at the bottom. And so it creates more of that. So I think
Mhm.
that, um, and then of course, like, the women that I'm working with, the moms who are just not taking care of themselves, they're down in the guilt, shame, and anxiety, which are the
Mhm.
bottom three rungs of this
Mhm.
scale. So I think just encouraging people to be as aware as possible of those emotions. And if you can shoot for joy, if you can shoot for love,
Mhm.
um, enlightenment is a whole different kind of ball of wax. So I
Oh,
think
yeah,
that,
big time.
yeah. So I'm like, most people know what joy and love are. So if you can shoot for joy and do the things that bring you joy. Like I said, the flowers bring me joy. You talked about
Yeah.
that. You go out and you're in the flowers and you go to the other flowers and like those things are joyful. What's
Mhm.
joyful? Walking my dog is
Yeah.
joyful. Getting what I use the dog a lot. Like at lunchtime, there's a field behind a church next to my office. And
Mhm.
I go out there at lunch and they have a huge soccer field out in the back. And I take the dog out there and I walk and the dog runs. And there's something about that, just being in nature, watching the dog, watching your dog, you have animals,
Mhm.
watching your dog run and just when they're like tearing across the field and they got this smile on their face and they're like that. I don't know what there is about that, but the joy I experience
Mhm.
when I see my dog experiencing joy,
Yeah.
those things lift us to such a higher state. And I think if we can whatever's going on in the world, it's so important to just simplify it down to
Yeah.
those little things, because that's all the energy, right? So what energy can we gain from
Mhm.
just the little things around us? And it doesn't have to be deep rabbit hole stuff. It just is like bring
Yeah.
us back, right? So
A
we
smile.
go into what's that?
A smile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's the little things. Because I mean, that's the thing. We can sit here and we can talk about all the crap about the government and the world and
Mhm.
pandemics and elections. Like we can have those conversations, but at the end of the day, what what are we going to do? We still have to come in to our little rose-colored glass house
Mhm.
and this right here.
Yeah.
What do we do right here? Right?
Well, and that's the thing, like, everything that's happening out there, observe it all, but absorb the love of the dog running,
Yeah.
absorb the smell of that flower, absorb the love of a child or a husband or a wife. You can have so many opportunities if you look for them in your daily life. Oh, I walked up the stairs. I never fell down. Hey, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've almost died twice.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
really?
Yeah, seriously.
Oh my gosh.
And believe me, every morning when I wake up, it's a damn good day.
Yes.
Okay. Because from 1 second to the next, I've almost died twice. Hey,
Wow.
any day I'm alive, any moment I'm alive, hey man, that's a good time. And I want to live it to the fullest for me and to be able to give to others. I guess that's my core is I've always wanted and I enjoy helping. I hate asking for help, but I love giving help. I don't know, maybe just an idiot. I should be kicking myself in the ass, but that's just who I am. I love to help people, whether that's in understanding, like we can go into spiritualism and energy frequency vibration, the megahertz, the frequency of our planet, the frequency of our universe, etc. But all you really need to know is when you feel that joy when somebody smiles at you, that's all that really matters because it's that joy that's going to raise all of us up.
Yeah, I remember one of the best things. There are so many women. They're like, I loved being pregnant, and I'm like, pregnancy sucks. Like what?
Depends on the woman. Yep, yep.
Okay. Now, however, I there are things about pregnancy that I will say were pretty freaking cool. And you're growing life. Like you're
Mhm.
growing life. Like that's pretty miraculous when you think about it. And
Yeah.
you think about that these two cells, two microscopic nanoparticles came together and formed this, right? Like
Yeah.
miraculous. Formed it perfectly inside of this vessel.
Yep.
Like that to me, I'm like, okay, when I think about pregnancy, I'm like, that's really cool that my body was able to grow a human, a human. Like, what? Again, this is not, and to me, and I'm not sure where your audience resides on this, but I'm like, this is not science. This is 100% God intervention,
Mhm.
intelligence in the human frame, innate. Like it is there you can't science the explanation to me because I experienced it. So that was the first thing, right? So even though like there
Mhm.
was a lot of things that sucked about being pregnant, that I reminded myself. And then when she got bigger and I felt her moving, I'm like, there's a like, oh my God, like there's a
What have I
human in
done?
there, right? And I'm like, and I actually had some empathy for men. I was like,
Mhm.
men will never experience this. Like, and also some women out there, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I don't, and I don't want to, there's a lot of women who can't get pregnant. There's a lot of women
Yeah.
who would just love to have that experience. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that breaks my heart that people can't experience what I experienced. Like to me, that miracle was amazing. So
Mhm.
so that was the first thing, right? So but going back to the smile, when I was pregnant,
Mhm.
people open doors for you. They say hello to you. The world was kinder. Everybody smiled. You never met an angry person when you were pregnant. Like people see you growing life and they are like, huh, there's something about when you have life growing inside of you that makes the world around you go, oh, like it opens up everything around you. So that to me, and I will never forget that because I try to think, well, maybe the world's like that anyway. It's not. You kidding me? No, it is
Smack.
not.
No,
It
no.
is not. Yeah, no. People aren't just smiling at a
But, you
non-pregnant 58-year-old woman. They're just not doing it.
you think of when people say, "Oh, that she's got that glow about her."
Uh-huh.
We're back into energy again.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. And I think
And
that yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, and as for the biological, it's actually the biology that is building those cells inside of your body, following that code that you and your partner have given to it. And it's the biology that builds every single one of those cells. And then it creates in you the reactions to that growth where you start producing milk, you start doing, your body
Yeah,
starts adjusting, and it's that extra essence inside of you that I think is that glow, that energy that people can literally feel, if you're aware of it anyway. I don't know
yeah.
if you've ever had a situation where you walked in, people arguing in a room, and it's just like, whoa. But people think, oh, energies, that's all that foo-foo, weird stuff. You know, no, just have that experience once and realize that's what energy is, you know.
Well, I don't think you need to have to walk into a room to be
No.
repelled by someone, you know? I mean, like, I'm actually thinking of there are people that I hate to say this, but I have a patient who, I I try to pour love over
Mhm.
him, but he's so negative, and
Yeah.
it's so difficult when you are someone who is like, you're just like, your nature is to be
Mhm.
positive. Your nature is to resonate at those higher levels. Your nature is to pour love over people. And it's a situation where there's nothing, Ken. There is nothing I can say that
Mhm.
makes this man laugh, smile. Like I said to him the other day, he went up north for the weekend. And I said, was it as beautiful up north as it was down here? And he said, I wouldn't know. I wasn't down here. And I was like, well, was it beautiful up there? Like, did you have good weather? Like, what are you talking about? Like, come on. And it was like, I was like, and but these are also the challenges, right? So then you go down the scale of anger. You're like, God damn it. Like, what? Like you were
What
trying
what am I
so.
supposed to do to make you smile, you asshole?
That's exactly it, right? So we go up and down this energy
Yeah,
scale, I think, on a daily basis. You know, it's our
minute
challenge.
by
I think,
minute.
yes. Yeah. I'm like, what are you
Watch
talking
the
about?
news. It's second by second if you're watching the news, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think from an energetic perspective, you know, that's the other thing too, is like for years I was under this delusion of, oh, you just have to be positive all the time. And if you're positive all the time, positive mental attitude, then you'll get all the things you want. Now we know that, you know, vibrating at those higher levels and having those higher
Mhm.
levels of energy, that's where we want to be resonating. However, the what I had this realization was that there was no permission to come down the scale. If like, I truly think you need to be able to, like, if you have a death in the family, or there's some adverse event or a life challenge, you have to come down the
Mhm.
scale and experience the feeling in order to get back up. This is my personal feeling. I
Mhm.
don't feel like any of the gurus who talk about energy and vibration, I've never felt like they've given me permission to come down the scale, feel the feelings, because if you don't feel those feelings, you're going to stuff them away.
Mhm.
And that is not healthy either. And I'm curious, since you're an energy guy, so where do you land on that?
Um, you have to experience everything. We come to this planet, we inhabit, you know, these bodies to learn, to grow, to experience. So you have to. It's a matter of how far on the bell curve you go. If you're an absolutely happy, energetic person, you know, you're always bubbly, people hate your guts.
Yeah.
Okay. If
Yes.
you're all the way on the other side, people hate your guts.
Yeah.
But if you can fluctuate in the middle, not going really happy, not going really sad, but staying in that middle zone, you never have to go from being super angry, you know, to super happy. It's just, oh, I got a little pissed off, but you know, I'm okay now. You've experienced the anger, but you've brought yourself back into balance. And it's the balance. It's not about being, you know, the most positive in the world. Do I have bad days? Sure. But I make it bad moments, bad minutes. You know,
Yes.
I try to never go too far in either direction. I've lost dogs in the last little while where, you know, I've been sitting on the floor with tears running down, and it's not that I'm sad for them. I'm sad for me because I'm going to miss that animal that used to prance on their paws and wiggle and just smile at you. I'm going to miss that joy, that happiness. But truly, all I have to do is close my eyes, bring that back, and I can raise myself up and be in that positive. That's where, if you're having a bad day, choose a memory that brings you joy, bring yourself back up. but stay in that balance. Don't go too far either side, because it takes a lot longer, a lot more energy to get you out of that, really, really bad mood where, if you're staying more in that balance and understand it, you're much more capable of having a better life, and the people around you will enjoy you a lot more.
Yeah, and I love that. One of the things that I started to think about, which is it's one of the issues I have with this scale, right? So
Mhm,
you've got anger, grief, despair, to joy,
mhm,
enlightenment, right? So the problem that I have with the scale is that um, I always say, like, you can't be happy and sad at the same time. Okay, so your dog dies. We've we've all had that happen. It's horrible. Like,
mhm,
you can't be happy in that moment. There's just no possible way. But I always hold on to optimism. And I feel like, and even if there's like, oh gosh, when we were trying to get connected today, and I'm like, I've had a shit week, okay? Like, I'm just
yep,
gonna say that out loud. There's some things going south, like, it's an accounting nightmare, like, I so my accountant decided to call me at the last minute. I don't keep track of dates, this is why I pay people to do these things, and
mhm,
then they were like, "Oh, yeah, your books aren't done? Oh, yeah, well, sorry, we don't have time to do them." I'm like, "What?" Like, and then they said that their monthly customers take priority. Okay, so, and I
mhm,
was like, "I'm a paying customer. I don't pay you monthly. I pay you at the end of the year." Like, so there was this whole level of customer service, and so it's been a week of ridiculous stress because taxes are late. There's a
mhm,
penalty impending if I don't get this done. I've been on the phone with QuickBooks. Like, it is massive amounts of stress. There's anger, there's
mhm,
negativity, there is like, I'm not sleeping. I am all the things. Like, I am in the trenches right now. I still
mhm,
have optimism. I am optimistic that I will find an answer. I am optimistic that I will find the person who will help me. I am optimistic that the answer will find me. So I think that's where, we can get so caught up in this positive mental attitude and this, like, oh, you just need to vibrate at a higher vibrational state.
mhm,
That is not always that's not always the case, because when you are thrown into the depths of an accounting nightmare, you have to just kind of go, holy shit. Like, what? Like, your brain explodes. This is how I'm
yeah.
just like expressing my emotions from this past week. Sorry for the profanity.
Oh, vent, please vent. Then it'll be better after, get it out, get it out.
And this is how I feel, right? But
Mhm,
this is it, right? It's like, I give myself this I can usually give myself a 24-hour, 24 hours. But because there's been so many
mhm,
moving parts, it's been a week. It doesn't matter. I will find the answer. I'm
yeah,
optimistic. Um, I'm still kind of pissed off, but I'm optimistic. Like, so you have this, there's like, if you've got to kind of go through the mud to be able to then see the light, right? To see
mhm,
the water that's going to wash you off, that's going to help you get to the answers. And what was interesting was that when you're optimistic, so when you're in the depths of things, um, I ended up, it was earlier this week, and a
mhm,
friend of mine said, "You need to call my accountant." And I said, "Okay." So I gave this previous accountant, who kind of like just completely uh, did me wrong.
yeah,
I gave them one more chance. I sent them a message. They sent me a message that was not very nice. And I was like, I'm not even sure why I'm being treated this way, but whatever. I didn't even respond back. I did not engage. I
yeah,
texted this new accountant, and she said, "Absolutely. I can help you. Can you come Wednesday?" Well, she's
mhm,
like an hour from me. And I said, "Actually, I'm going to be in your area on Wednesday." Like, I had a hair appointment. So I'm like, that's the universe, right? So I think when
Mhm.
so even though you have these like, I'll call them negative things, or not so
Mhm.
great things or challenges, life challenges, I think when you're used to having a certain level of optimism and belief and trust, that even if you're taken down that scale, I think the universe still kind of has your back. I mean, what
Yeah.
do you think about that, you know?
It's the truth. It's like the poem of, I think it's called Footprints.
Oh yeah.
Um, with God is walking beside
Yeah.
me. Why is
Yeah.
there only one set of footprints? Because I was carrying you.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's the same in, you know, people use the word God. I use the word source. It's much more generic because it doesn't matter if it's God, if it's Buddha, if it's Shiva, or
Mhm.
the multitude of others. It's talking about the energetic. It's talking about that energy that's going to help you or not help you. But if you're always aware of that energy, and the one key, Paul, I want to point out that you did is you got off your ass and did something. You moved forward, which allowed the energy to flow back to you. But if you're just going to sit there and not do anything and expect the world to save you, it isn't going to happen. It's like sitting in front of a car that's coming at you, and you know it's going to hit you, and not bothering to move. Oh
Yeah.
no, the universe, an angel will come and sweep me away. Well, maybe it would help if you started moving a little bit, just a little.
Well, isn't that the so if we just go into, biblical sayings, it's the act
Mhm.
as if, right?
Yeah.
It's the act as if. And I'll reveal a little backstory about me. You guys want to know a little secret about me? Do we want to
Always.
do we want a
The
little secret?
greasy details.
A little greasy details. Um this is dirt, you guys. This is dirt, okay? So you guys paying attention? Uh, so I got pregnant unexpectedly.
Mhm.
And my daughter, I call him the partial DNA source because I don't even think he's like worthy of being called a sperm donor. So,
Oh no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. But also this leads into, we um okay, so I'll just say, okay, so anyway, so I call him the partial DNA source. So
Right.
he said to me, I was 3 months pregnant, and he had ghosted me for weeks. I'm like, I was 37 years old. Wasn't like we were kids. Like, this is so bizarre. So he ghosted me for weeks. And then he finally calls me and he says, I have to pray to God to be a father. And I said, good luck with that. And I said, my God doesn't work that way. I don't know what corner you're going to sit in and have this prayer session, but I am growing a child and I have a child to raise.
Mhm.
So, and you guys, I never heard from him again, and she'll be 20 in
Oh
November.
my God. Yeah.
Now, you can feel bad for me, or I will tell you, because this will go back to what we first started to talk about. Um, she was my gift, and this isn't to get into. I know we kind of got into a little religious thread,
Yep.
but honest to God, I was like, this was God's plan. I was 37 years old. I did not want children. I was not dating anybody. That like there was no one in my life that I was like, I would have loved to have gotten married and had kids, but that was not the course I was on.
Mhm.
And so here I was at 37 and I get pregnant. He was in and out of my life in 3 months. What does that tell you? Like, that is divine intervention. This was like such a beautiful thing for me that I did not like. He came and went. He served his
Yeah.
purpose. And you said something earlier about when we were talking about the pregnancy, and I'm like, and I was like trying to connect that, but Anyway, but that was kind of it. It was like, this was like God's plan for me.
Mhm.
So I didn't, honestly, I don't want to say I didn't need him. When I think about who he was, and in the short 3 months we were together, I was actually getting ready to break up with him because I was like, this guy's psycho. And so, so it kind of was, it really was, it was kind
Yep,
of
yep,
great,
yep, and
um,
him running was the perfect thing.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
Yep.
saying. I'm like, and then my brother, he's been so amazing with her and me, and he's like, he just has embraced her like his own kids, and
Mhm.
he would get so mad at me, and he's like, I need to know what the gender is, and I'm like, I am not finding out. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, this is a gift that's been given to me, and I will not open my gift until Christmas, okay?
Oh, I'm not going there. I am not going.
So that was
Oh,
it. So, you
I
know.
thought it was Valentine's Day. You know.
Yeah. So
Oh.
it's just interesting. You just go, when we're just talking about like just the universe and life and source, and, just all the different ways that things coming in and out of your life. And again, I was scared. I was 37 years old. I had my own home. I had my own practice. I
Mhm.
had 2 college degrees, one was a doctorate. Like, I had everything going for me. It was kinda like, "Why wouldn't I do this?" Like, it was, and to me, I go, "Okay, well, God's like, listen, this soul needs to come to planet Earth, and it wants you as its vessel."
Mhm.
And that child, when she was like little, like 3 and 4, she's like, "I told God I wanted you as my mommy." Like, I'm like, "Who says that?" Like, you don't say that unless that's a thing. So, anyway, so there's that source, but it was, I had to remain optimistic through those times
Mhm.
because they were dark, they were hard. It was not easy, but optimism, that's what got me through. So I think like
Mhm.
whatever anybody's going through, uh, I just think it's really important just to maintain that.
Well, that higher level of consciousness, just knowing that it can be better. Not that
Mhm.
it is better, but it can always get better. And like you look at the story of the man in Auschwitz who always was happy and joyful, and when he got out and was saved, people said, why, how? And it's because he never lost hope.
Yeah.
As long
Yeah.
as you have breath in your body, there's hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I think that's what gets us all through, and whatever we have going on in the world today, like that is, uh, take care of our own little rose-colored house, right?
Mhm.
I mean, people come to me for help. It's really a cool thing when you bring your kids to me. How can you help my kids feel better? I'm helping people every day with just their food habits, their life habits, their exercise habits. I mean, I really need to get people to understand that this is about legacy. We've got to leave a legacy of health and wellness for our kids.
Mhm.
So, and if I'm an example of hope and and optimism, if it's like somebody else is like, oh, if she did it, I can do it.
Yep.
We all are going to have our ups and downs. That's the whole thing, and we all have a starting point. So, when we talk about, um, one of my first starting points for everybody is get your nutrients under control. Get that nutrition under control,
Mhm.
because food is medicine, it's energy. If you're
Mhm.
putting poor food choice, poor food into your body,
Yep.
that's giving you poor energy. So, big it's a big deal, but then there's little things that people can do to start to step up and change those things.
Now, okay, you do a lot on nutrition with your clients. Like I myself, I'm keto, more carnivore leaning.
Hmm.
Um, I understand just because of of how my brain works is, and when I say it's all about the biology, it truly is because it's all about cell division. Um, but how are you getting people to understand that what they're consuming they need to look at as the building blocks of their bodies? How are you getting that across to people?
That's a great question. I have to say that I some people hear me and some people don't.
Mhm.
And some people kind of hear me and then someday they'll hear, right? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Um I have some people who are like, "Great, I'll do exactly what you tell me," and they do it and we have these amazing results. Um so I'm constantly trying just making sure that I'm evaluating how I communicate
Mhm.
because I really want everyone to be able to hear the message that they need to hear, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah. Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I had a patient come in who I hadn't seen in months, and she came in a few weeks ago, and she was skinny as a rail, like skin falling off, skinny as a rail. And I was like,
Anorexic.
I said, "Well, what have you been doing?" And she goes, "Oh, I did Ozempic. I know you don't agree." And I'm like, and I know her history, and she had a crap diet. She's got two little kids. Like I've talked about her before. Like she was like, I was eating chicken Alfredo. I don't know why I can't lose weight. I'm like, I like her whole
Man.
I yeah, uh, not hydrating. She had
Yeah.
1 to 2 bowel movements a week. Like her metabolic system is broken.
Yeah.
So I'm not particularly against these weight loss drugs, but they are not the band-aid. And so, that's the whole thing. So she came in and she said, "Oh, but I think she lost like 35 pounds or something like that." And I'm like, "Okay." And she goes, "Well, but trust me, I've changed my diet, I've changed my lifestyle habits. It's probably not to what you want. It's not to your standards, but
Mhm.
I refuse to go back." And I was like, "Okay, in the time that I've seen you, you've lost almost 40 pounds." I think it was like 38 pounds that she lost. And like, you've
Mhm.
lost almost 40 pounds. I mean, it's 5 months. So that's what, just 8 pounds a month? Like, that's a lot. It's a lot.
Mhm.
That's not necessarily a healthy weight loss. So anyway, so she says, "But I've changed my eating habits and my lifestyle, and I refuse to go back." And I was like, "Okay, I didn't say this because I didn't want to burst her bubble, but based
Yeah.
on the swiftness of weight loss, like,
Mhm.
she has no choice. Like, she's gonna put the weight back on if it's not done properly."
Yeah.
So then I said to her, I said, "So, has it improved your bowel movements?" "Oh no, I'm still having only 1 to 2 bowel movements a day." You guys, I cannot say enough. Like, if you are not pooping every day, at least 2 to 3 times a day, your body is broken and it needs to be fixed. And there's no amount of medication that's going to fix that. Like, period. You've got to eliminate those toxins. So I was like, "Okay." And then I said, "And how much water are you drinking?" And she goes, "Oh, not enough." And I said, "Oh, what does that mean?" And basically like 2 8-ounce glasses of water. And I said, "You," I go, "First of all, you just told me that you changed your habits. And the
Mhm.
two most critical things for health, the number one simplest thing that you could be doing, drinking water."
Mhm.
Yep, but
Is
it
that
is red.
water or wine?
Well,
You
this
know.
one's wine, that one's wine.
Okay. Okay.
But basically,
Had
I
to
was
throw
like,
that in.
I'm like, "You just like, don't tell me you've changed your lifestyle habits and then say it's not up to my liking." if you're not, like, you have to drink water and hydrate. So sometimes my messages get across to people, and sometimes
Mhm.
it drives me crazy because then people will go to these outside influences and not take responsibility for themselves. There is no magic bullet, there's no magic shot, and there's no patch that is gonna um, help you with everything. So you've got to hydrate. Your food
Mhm.
habits need to be on point. You've got to move your body and sleep. If you are not sleeping, sleep is a critical component of health.
Yeah.
And 80% of people don't have good sleep hygiene. Um, so it's like I'm constantly, Ken, shouting from the mountaintop. Like, I literally
Mhm.
feel like I'm, and some people hear it and some people don't. Um, the people that hear it, I'm super grateful and I love the results that they get. But why is it that the people who don't hear it, and I think this is like so common with human nature. I'm like,
Oh,
what
yeah.
did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Like, what, you know, instead of like, what did I do right for those people and let me do more of it? What did I do wrong? How do I inspire more people? Because I'm always trying to get more people under under a healthier umbrella.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the one thing is visuals. I'll tell you that if you took a picture of a nice plump apple and then the picture of a dry, shriveled up apple and put them on your wall, say which one would you rather be? Because this is your skin hydrated, and this is your skin not hydrated. Which do you want to be?
So that's actually a great visual. I need to do that in the office. One of the things that I talk about is our cells. So if we go to cellular health, your cells should be plump like a grape. But
Mm-hmm.
most of us, and this is a really interesting concept that most people are unaware of, is that we are so inflamed because of toxic overload. So we have all this extracellular fluid because the extracellular fluid is trying to dilute toxins.
Mm-hmm.
So we're inflamed. But what those toxins do is, in order to get out of your body, it needs as much fluid as it possibly can, water, if you will.
To
And it
flush
pulls
through.
it, yep, and it pulls it from the cell if there's not enough in the extracellular space. And when it pulls it from the cell, it shrivels the cell up like a grape.
Mm-hmm.
So our cells should, I'm sorry, shrivels it up like a raisin. So our cells should be like grapes, not
Yeah.
raisins. But most of us are dehydrated and inflamed all at the same time.
Well,
So,
one of the things that people don't understand, Paula, is and Rory brought it up here as well. Celtic
mm,
salt, then drink
mhm.
water and the body will absorb it. People don't understand that, salt is one of the most important things in your body, even though, like, okay, I deal with the cannabis industry and we don't want them growing in salt. Well, that's because it's forcing things into your body. But if you're putting a little bit of that Celtic sea salt or C90 that's got 90 trace minerals in it, the minerals your body needs, put a little bit in your water and drink that, then it's going to absorb not only the water into your body and your cells, but those building blocks, those nutrients that you need as well.
Well, and that's a great point, is that most of us are deficient in all those minerals. And
Mm-hmm.
how many people, so, okay, let's say people have high blood pressure. What are we told to avoid? Say
Oh,
we say
so yeah,
avoid
salt,
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 right? So if we just
worst
say,
thing you can
okay,
do.
uh-huh. So you're told to avoid salt. Now, here's the
Mhm.
next question. Um, how many people do you know who have high blood pressure who've been told to avoid salt, and then get off their blood pressure medication?
Mm, yeah,
Like like zero, right?
yeah.
Because salt is not, it's not the criminal. It's the processed foods with like the monosodium glutamate and the sodium nitrates and it's the sodium forms, but not so like Celtic sea salt is unrefined sea salt with the whole mineral profile.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of the processed foods with all of these like sodium chemicals.
Glyphosate and
Yeah, yeah. And then you've got so then what happens yes, so we need more salt. We all need more salt in our diets. We don't need more sodium. We need more salt. We need more minerals, I guess I
we
should
need
say.
natural salt instead of the processed salt, which
Yes.
is taken, all the good is taken out of it. And I don't know if you understand cation exchange capacity.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're stripping that, not adding it back in with something else, when you put it in your body, it strips your body so that the cells or the molecules are formed properly. It has to strip that hydrogen or that calcium or that iodine or whatever out of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're supposed to flush that through as a poison. But and it was pointed out, you were saying 2 to 3 times she's going that weekly. But guys, think about it. If you're eating a meal, if you eat 3 meals a day, that's like a train going into the tunnel 3 times a day. If only 1 or 2 trains comes out, what's left in there that's all crashed and burning and is no good? And they say that what the most, how do I want to phrase this? All disease comes from the colon and the garbage that's left in your colon. I'm not 100% agreeing with that, but if you're leaving that feces in your colon and it's not going out, then you're in rough shape. That's why John Wayne, when he died, I think his colon was like 50 or 60 pounds.
Oof.
Okay. It was all the toxic buildup because it wasn't going through. So if you're eating 2 meals a day, you should be going at least twice a day. If you're only eating once a day, then you should be going at least once a day.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier with this patient is
Yeah.
so many of my patients, they'll say, well, okay, I have 2 bowel movements a week. That's normal for me. That's
Mm-hmm.
not normal for anyone. The human body needs to eliminate those toxins daily, daily. And if you are not eliminating daily, you have a problem.
And a
So,
big one.
and yeah, and you're going to reabsorb those toxins. So if we talk about, okay, so we'll talk about salt, elimination, toxicity. So with the salt, because somebody was saying earlier about salt, like this is like osmosis, and you need the salt to go into the cell. Um, that's true, except if so the way the body works is in order for toxins to get out of the system, it has to encapsulate the liver. Since it happens in the liver, it encapsulates the toxin with a water molecule. That allows it to safely move through the liver and through the kidney to get out of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, toxins are stored in the fat tissue because it's long-term storage. So if you don't have a healthy liver, a healthy digestive system, if you have any kind of gut issues whatsoever, if you don't poop every day, at least once, twice, 3 times is a bonus, maybe 4. But if you aren't going regularly on a daily basis, you're reabsorbing those toxins.
Yep.
And the toxins get stored in long-term storage, which is fat. Now you're like, why can't I lose weight? Well, because your liver is struggling to get rid of the toxins. Your body, your digestive system does not know how to release that. So your body hangs on to the toxins. So now let's just say, okay, let's take the salt. Okay, now you have salt. Well, the salt isn't going to help move water into the cell because there's still so many toxins in the body, and the water needs to bind the toxin to get out. And it is still going to pull water from inside the cell to bind the toxin to dump out of the body. So you could take salt, be okay, but that's like a downstream, like, let's figure out why you're not pooping every day. Let's get that taken care of first. Then if you need more, and we're saying salt, and I'm assuming that when we say salt, we're talking about unrefined sea salt and minerals and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then we can replenish the body. We can start to replenish with I'll just say minerals to encompass that whole thing. But if we don't get the gut eliminating daily, it doesn't matter how much salt you take. It's not going to fix the cells. Getting the digestive system to eliminate properly on a daily basis starts to fix the cell. Because then if you're eliminating toxins, now the body's like, oh, we don't have to pull as much fluid from the cell. We can put some back. The cell's where all your energy is. It's where all your hormones are processed. It's how everything in your life works. So you've got to get that piece functioning first before you start to think, oh, I'll just take salt. That's not, or minerals, right? So I hope that made sense. I know that's kind of a long way of saying how the body works, but if you're not pooping, that is the first and foremost way to get things fixed.
Yeah, and it's you're balancing your body, and it all starts with the gut biology, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is every time that they're taking an antibiotic, they're killing the gut biology. But what are they taking to regenerate that gut biology that's going to make the food that you ingest break down properly? You smell that pizza you love so much, your mouth starts to water. That's a reaction. Your body's secreting those liquids to start breaking the food down in your mouth as you're eating it. That's why they said to chew 100 times, But most people don't do that. They just stuff it in as fast as they can. They don't take time to enjoy their food. They just stuff it in. But if they don't have the biology in their belly, I'm sorry, it is going to get not broken down. It's not going to heal your body. It's not going to give you energy. It's going to give you indigestion. It's going to give you gas. It's going to do all these other things. So how are you telling people, or what are you suggesting, or would you suggest to people to help with their gut biology to get the process really going?
That's a great question. And it's a giant question. I'm going back to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Do you remember Star Wars?
No, that I remember, but that's not the name here.
I know he doesn't quite spell it the same way, but it's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah. Okay. So too much veg gave me hemorrhoids, horrible gut pain, anxiety, depression, going to the bathroom 4 to 6 times a day destroyed me. So without all the context of that, and how do we fix our guts? So huge question. Let's think about this. So everybody has a different starting point. And if you are someone, so first of all, if you don't poop every day, that's a problem. Okay. So let's just talk about what are the things that you need to pay attention to that you may not think are problems that are like issues. So, okay, you got to poop every day, if not 2 to 3 times a day, period. Now, if you're having multiple bowel movements a day and it's like diarrhea or IBS and you go from constipation to diarrhea, that's also a problem. If you have GERD, if you have reflux, if you're taking any acid blockers, if you take Tums, if you take anything, if you take any over-the-counter or prescription drugs for anything, you're disrupting your gut microbiome, which is going to disrupt your body's ability to break down and digest and absorb food nutrients. So so that's the whole, we have to pay attention to those things. Like there are people who are like, I had a conversation with a patient this week, and I said, if you're taking Tylenol or Advil more than once a week for pain or whatever, headache, I don't care what it is, there's a problem. I have patients who've said to me, I take 2 Advil before I go golfing in case I get sore. Get sore. Like allow the body to do what it needs to do, right? So we're in this, and I'll get to how we help people get their gut healthy. But I have to get the precursors in here, because we're in this society that does not allow for us to have disruption of anything, right? So if you're sore, we take something. If you're nauseous, you take something. If you have a headache, you take something. If you're vomiting, you take something. If you have diarrhea, you take something. If you've got constipation, you take something. We have been taught that if we have the human body is going through something, we have a pill to counteract it. If you have to take any kind of pill for anything, there's a problem. Let's fix it. So, okay. So that being said, is just saying, understand that your starting point could be different. If you're on no medications, that could be different. If you're on 10 medications, that's a whole different story. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So typically, if we just go to the primary pillars of health. Okay, we talked about this earlier. Water. Are you drinking enough water? Half of your body weight in ounces a day in water. Like water, it's just water. Drink it. And if you say to me, I don't like water, okay, there's nothing I can do for you, period. Literally nothing. Like you are made of water. Your body functions on water. If you want to be healthy, the same guy who was like, I wouldn't know, I wasn't down here.
Yeah.
That guy is like, I hate water. You're going to have to help me figure out what I can drink. And I'm like, nah, I literally looked at him and I said, suck it up, buttercup. Not my problem. Because I got tired.
Yep.
I got tired of trying to like help this negative guy be healthy. So that came out of my mouth. So I told the patient, suck it up, buttercup. Okay.
And he responded to that. I know he did.
He's still coming in. He hasn't quit. So there's that. So, all right. So hydration is huge. Now I'm sitting here. I've got a little glass of wine. It's Friday night. I've not had wine all week. Like this is like, okay. So we have balances in our world. So I'm not sitting here like on a, what do you call it? On my high horse. I'm on my pedestal or my high horse. I'm not saying never do these things. But if you're somebody who's doing them all the time, you've got to now, and you have health problems. Like I don't have health problems. Like I'm okay. I can have a glass or two of wine on a Friday night. I don't have health problems. But if you're face to face with it, you have to become face to face with it. Okay. Yeah. So hydrate at least half of your body weight in ounces of water. And then if you're active, then you add more. My top 3, this goes back to the beginning of our conversation. No artificial sweeteners, flavors, or colors, because Ken, you and I both know that those are highly damaging to our brain, our nervous system, and our overall health. It causes inflammation. And if you can eliminate those 3 things, you will probably solve about 80% of your health problems, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, if you just like it's 3 easy things: no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or colors. So Rory Gardner says, I'm smoking a joint instead. I don't know why anyone would put smoke in their lungs. I'm not opposed to taking, if you need a gummy or something like CBD, THC can be very helpful. We do have a very strong cannabinoid system, so we can utilize these chemicals, these plant chemicals, to help our bodies. But in my opinion, there's no world that putting smoke in your body is healthy. So utilize the chemicals in a way that doesn't cause more damage. Okay.
Mhm.
So, but I just saw that. So that is not, that's not one of my pillars is using CBD, but we need to get to the baselines. So
Well,
the
we on this channel, it really started out, this whole thing started out because I use cannabis for my pain and my
yeah.
muscles. And so I started out, talking on a cannabis channel. I've made my own channel, but the roots of this has always been, helping people grow their own medicine, whether it's mushrooms or
Mhm.
cannabis or vegetables, because all food can be a medicine and it can also be
Yes.
a poison. But as for the smoking, I've been a smoker since I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Not necessarily cannabis, but um, I've always looked at it as it wasn't the tobacco that was the problem. It was always the filter and the paper. So, but a carcinogen is a carcinogen. So I
Yeah.
get what you're saying. Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't smoke very much of that. I actually ingest it by pill. So I'm eating it. So it goes through the liver. It's a totally different process, but I do agree a carcinogenic
Yeah.
is produced by the smoke.
Well, and if there's okay, so we have smoke by let's say you're growing your own cannabis
Mhm.
and you're smoking that. When you think of, I'll say, cleaner smoke, again, smoke inhalation is not good for us.
Mhm.
But the tobacco, like gosh, when I did a whole thing on like tobacco and smoking. There's like 9,000 toxic chemicals in a cigarette, like to make a cigarette. Like it is crazy the adulteration of the tobacco that goes into a cigarette. So you're not just getting the smoke, but you're getting all those highly toxic chemicals. So,
Yeah.
and that might be a conversation for another time. But yeah, I just feel like putting any smoke in your body is not like if you're trying to, we need our lung capacity as we get older. Like we have to have our lung capacity, and any kind of smoke can damage the lining, which is like one cell thick. And once it's damaged, it will not come back. So so again, I'm not opposed to these types of chemicals and using cannabis and THC to manage, pain and headaches and sleep.
Mhm.
I just have a perspective of let's make sure we're doing it in a way that's going to serve our bodies and not
Mhm.
cause other problems in the process. So yeah,
Well,
so I don't
I'd hate to say it, Paula, but if you go to China and you walk down a street in Beijing, okay, you could go smoke 20 packs a day and not do the amount of damage you're going to do just walking through the city. But I definitely get your point. And the
yeah,
other thing is, your lungs do regenerate. Every 7 years, your body regenerates every single cell. The brain cells being the longest. The liver, I think, is one of the shortest because you can regrow a liver in a matter of a few months.
yeah. But the lungs are harder to regenerate. So that's one of the
And it's
um
keep damaging them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So anywho, that could be another whole different conversation.
Oh
So
yeah.
getting yeah, no. So getting back to our basics. So we have water, sleep. I touched
Mhm.
on sleep earlier.
Yeah.
We have to make sure we're managing sleep. If we are not sleeping properly, what happens is our bodies go into a hyper stress mode, and that
Mhm.
alone changes our gut microbiome. Like it's
Yeah.
amazing. People don't understand that lack of sleep, poor quality sleep changes the gut bacteria. And when you don't have proper gut bacteria, that causes more inflammation. Also, lack of good sleep causes it creates a more inflammatory state because it raises blood sugar. There's all these metabolic processes that that expand because of poor quality sleep. So if
Mhm.
you do not have, boy, I'm sorry, wait, I smell a skunk. Hold on. Hey, come here. Come here. I'm like, what is that? Oh my God. Hold on one second. Hold on. I got to
There
make sure.
you go.
Hold on. Hold
Go,
on.
go. Yep. Well, Paula might have to go get some tomato juice to wash the dog if she can't chase the skunk away. Or maybe she's going to get sprayed and the dog will be okay. And the dog will send the dog to get the tomato juice. But guys, there's so much our bodies need, and sleep is one of the things you have to consider. Your plant doesn't grow when the lights are on, or it grows a little bit when the lights are on. The division, cell division really happens in the lights off. When you're sleeping is when your body is able to repair. That's why the old saying is, your kid's growing up overnight. Well, because
Mm-hmm.
it's at night that the child grows. It's when cell division really happens. Your biology isn't maintaining you. It's not moving your arms, moving your bodies, and it's able to go, oh, I can switch and I can do this job. So sleep is one of the base things you have to do. Sleep, water, and giving your body the right building blocks.
Yeah, sleep is that critical component. I feel like sleep is, I mean, besides the fact that it's the most important pillar of health, because if you don't get good quality sleep, it can create so much damage.
Mhm.
But where I feel it's most dangerous is because most people don't sleep properly, and then uh they compartmentalize it. They're like, "Oh yeah, but I haven't slept for years." They get up and they have this ability to survive and thrive.
Mhm.
Not thrive, survive the next day.
Yeah.
They have an ability to continue on and do their daily work, but they're not healthy, and it continues to slowly cause damage over time. So it's really interesting. Sleep is one of those really interesting mental things that I deal with people.
Mhm.
I had a conversation with a patient a couple weeks ago, and she takes CBD to sleep. And
Mhm.
I said, okay. I said, but if you didn't take it, would you sleep well? Because she goes, oh, I take it sometimes. And I go, okay, well, if you don't, when you don't take it, how's your sleep pattern? And she's like, well, but then during the day, and I'm starting, like, she couldn't answer the question. She was one of these people that her brain it was racy. It was really racy. It was hard to wrangle her in and get answers. And I'm like, okay, I go, I need you to answer this question. It's like, when you go to sleep at night, so two questions. Do you fall asleep easily? That's the first question. Yes or no? If you fall
Mhm.
asleep easily, do you stay asleep? Yes or no? If you wake up in the middle of the night, are you able to fall back asleep easily? Yes or no? These are critical sleep questions. If you can't, do you have racy thoughts in your mind? So ask yourself these questions. And these are critical for gut health, because
Mhm.
how you sleep changes how your gut functions. So, yeah, I'm not talking about like nutrition or anything like that. I'm talking about the core foundation.
Yeah.
I can't give you enough supplements. I can't give you enough probiotics to out pour sleep your life, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So,
It does.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the thing is most people don't understand, that there's blocks of time. You need to go through the cycle of sleep. For most people, that's 4 hours is a full cycle. What do you recommend? Like I used to, as a truck driver, I used to sleep 4 to 6, and then I'd get up and I'd be up for 16 to 20, get 4 to 6, and I could do that. Well, I did that for 20 plus years.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, some people, like you said, like, it's kind of like you think about, moms with newborns. They
Mhm.
figure it out. They figure out how to get enough rest. Honestly, I don't think any mom gets enough rest. There literally is a thing called pregnancy brain, where
Mhm.
you lose 10% of your brain capacity because the nutrients that go to your brain are now going to the baby. So we lose that. And then we're getting lack of sleep. So a lot of women are really nutritionally deficient, and that can create problems down the road. So if you don't understand that process and how to replenish the body, then that just creates a cycle. And some of this stuff it's not like it happens like boom, oh, I've got poor gut health, or I've
Yeah.
got some metabolic issue. It kind of can happen. It oftentimes happens
Fine.
over time,
Yeah.
which is why it's really important to pay attention. I have a patient who she came to me. She's been a patient for 20 years, and she recently came in, and she said, well, I need to talk to you first. And I said, okay. So I called her, and last summer she got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and they
Mm-hmm.
think it's rheumatoid, and she's had this horrible pain. She's like she's 70, I think now.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and it's like things in my head, but I think I also said it out loud to her. I was trying not to say it in a way that made her feel bad. So, but I'm just going to kind of like paraphrase.
Okay.
But I did say it more gently to her. But 20 years ago, when she came to me, she had health issues, and I've been trying to work on her with her gut health to get that under control. She has blood sugar issues. She had sleep issues, and she never committed. She would like do what I told her to do for a few weeks, and then she'd go back to her old ways. And it was this waxing and waning. And now it's 20 years later, and she's got a diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis, and she's in incredible pain. And now she's on these horrible autoimmune drugs. And I'm like, if you would have just done what I told you to do 20 years ago, we may not be here today.
Yeah.
So these are, and that breaks my heart, because I'm like, that's the piece when you're like, how do you get people to whatever you asked me earlier? I can only be the messenger. I can only be the messenger, and you have to want more for yourself. And so each and every day I have to just keep giving the message, and hope that people hear it, and hope that they want better for themselves, and will, make sure that they start to do better things for themselves. So, yeah.
We can only stand on top of the mountain, Paula, and just keep yelling. And anybody that actually wants to listen, they're going to listen. And everybody else is just, it's their choice.
Yeah.
We've been at this for over 2.25 hours.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
And well, I'll be nice, and I won't say anything about women talking for hours and hours and hours. My wife will come down and beat me. Okay, the only reason I'm not going to say it.
She's a good woman.
She keeps me in line.
Well, I'll give you the other pillars, and then we can sign off. Silly Lily says you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's so true.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, we just know that we have to keep, and this is why this is great that you're having these conversations, that we just keep having the conversations,
And like Kate says, you can't heal stupid.
You can't heal stupid. I know. And it's not stupid. It's just that people, they're in their habits. They have their ways. They don't want to admit that what they've been doing for themselves is wrong. A lot of people will also be in a position where they're like, they don't want to give up the things. And it's like the things that are killing you. Like, it's literally an addiction when you think about it, So some people don't like to exercise. I mean, that's the other key pillar. You have to move. You've got to move your body. Flexibility is a huge part of longevity, flexibility and strength. So, we have, just these just basic pillars: move, eat well, quit putting shit in your body. Sorry.
Oh no, we're all adults here.
Yeah. But I think that's too, people are like, I don't know what to eat, but then they go eat donuts. It's like, well, if you don't tell me you don't know what to eat, and then you go, what not to eat. Like that, so
Yeah.
we kind of get into those conversations.
Choices. Make better
Make
choices.
better choices. That's it. Like just, and I understand that there is addiction with food, and that's a tough place as well. But it's really the human brain is so strong. And I guess I'll tell this last story and then we can sign off. I go back to the movie. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the movie. Uh, A Beautiful Mind. Do you remember that movie?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of the movie, and whatever it was he was schizophrenic, or he had paranoid schizophrenic or something, and he had those three personalities that
Yeah.
always took him over. And at the end of the movie, he's walking out of the building, and his three personalities were walking like over, they were walking, and he kind of looked over at them, and they were kind of like, they were like angry, they were walking, but they were like angry that they weren't a part of him anymore. And
Yeah.
without medication, he figured out mentally how to disconnect himself from his schizophrenia. Like it
Yeah.
was crazy. And so, I that was so profound to me at the ending of that movie. And that if he can do that with something like schizophrenia, um, anybody can do anything. So get out of your own way, start making decisions that are going to serve your health and put you in a position that you're going to, be in this world for a long time without drugs and medication, and stay out of the system, stay out of the hospital, stay off medication, and, live a life full of vitality. So yeah, I think that's
100%.
probably my ending statement there.
Well, before you end, are you doing any conferences or anything like that? I know you have you say you were 3 shows a week?
Yes. So I have my Sunday Night Live. I have Monday is Reset Monday. So every Monday I do Reset Monday. I'm restructuring that a little bit because just from a time perspective, it's been trying to get to my office and get set up and get live on a Monday morning. It's been a little daunting. So I actually am going to restructure that. I'm actually going to start just putting out weekly videos for Reset Monday on Monday. So I'm in the process of recording the videos, and then I'll start to launch
Cool.
those. Every Thursday, we do a live called Chiropractic is Sexy. We've been a year now at that. So we're going to
And
move
you've got
that
another beautiful young lady on there as
Yes,
well.
yes, my wonderful colleague, Dr. Erica Peabody. And so we already have the channel called Chiropractic is Sexy. So we're going to move that live to its own channel. So, like I don't have enough to do, start my own channel,
Yep, yep.
start another channel.
Mm.
And then, and then you can continue to follow me on Dr. Ruffin on YouTube. And, still am putting out just different videos on health and wellness and how to eat healthy, good sleep, movement, and, all the simple ways that you can start implementing things in your life. I do really try to keep it simple because I think people need that level of simplicity. I had a patient tell me a few weeks ago, she's like, I'm just food dumb. I don't know what to do. And it literally is the simplest of things that people are confused about. So I try to keep that really super simple for everybody.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Sunday show.
And then Sunday's show, Sunday Night Live. In fact, Sunday, which we didn't even get a chance to get into. So join me on Sunday because I'm going to go through what they are doing in our food system and what is happening in Europe and here and our FDA, what they're allowing in our food. So this Sunday is going to be a great conversation of
Cool.
what we allow in our food, in what we allow in our food that is not allowed in other countries. So you guys aren't going to want to miss that one. So yeah.
And that's there's things in
6
Europe
o'clock.
they can't get over there that we get here. And then
They're
they won't let
crazy.
us ship stuff from here over
Yes.
there. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy. So I know. So lots of good stuff. So stay tuned. I've got a couple of podcasts that I'm going to be on in the upcoming weeks. So it's been busy. So it's all good.
And guys, and for the channel, we've got Leighton on with the Urban Gardener, and that's the Urban Gardener.
Yeah, I love the Urban Gardener. Yeah.
On Monday, and then of course Andy and I on Wednesday, and we'll see if we have a guest for next Friday. But
perfect.
Other than that, I didn't we were doing giveaways all week, and I forgot to do a giveaway because the conversation was going so well. So you guys will have to wait till Monday for the next giveaway. But anyway, guys, I'm going to end the broadcast. Thanks everybody for coming. And
thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.